The WNBA season is officially back, with the preseason starting this week. We've seen some immediate signs of players who could make an impact on their new teams, some recent draftees looking really good at the WNBA level, and more. But I felt, to kick things off for the WNBA content for this season, I'd make some prediction videos. So, in today's video, I'll be telling you my predictions for the WNBA standings in 2022, starting from the 12th seed and working my way up to number 1. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more women's basketball content like this, I'm trying to hit 3,000 subscribers, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that all being said, let's get right into these predictions, starting at number 12. Number 12, the Atlanta Dream. While the Atlanta Dream had a great draft, notably drafting number 1 overall pick Rhyne Howard, I still think they're a year or two away from being a genuine threat for the playoffs. This year will almost certainly be a developmental year for the group, giving the young players more minutes to get experience under their belts, etc. If Rhyne Howard makes an immediate star impact, I think Atlanta could improve from last season record-wise, but at the moment, I think they'll remain bad, but probably be a competitive young team, kinda like the Houston Rockets were in the NBA this past season. Each WNBA team will play 36 games this regular season, the most in history, and through those games, I expect the Dream to win about 8 to 10 of them. Number 11. The Indiana Fever. Like the Atlanta Dream, I think the Fever will be bad again this season, but will show a lot of promise. I'm a big fan of their young core that they've drafted and built up the last couple seasons, and with a couple of good veteran presences, I can see Indiana improving on last season slightly. Again though, this will be a developmental year for the Fever. There will be a lot of focus on developing their rookies, so I don't expect them to be great, especially initially. With their solid depth though, I think the future is very bright for the Fever. I just believe that they're probably a year or two away from taking off, which is why I have them in 11th today. I have the Fever winning 8 to 10 games this season. Number 10, the Washington Mystics. I can't lie, I'm not the biggest optimist when it comes to the Mystics. They fell out of the playoff picture late last season, and while I'm aware a lot of their struggles were due to the absence of Delle Donne, I still have my concerns. One big concern is I think the loss of Tina Charles will impact them more than it may seem on the surface. She was instrumental to getting them as close to the playoffs as they got, and to lose her for practically nothing to Phoenix is going to be a major blow to this team. Yes, Delle Donne should be playing this season at full strength, but with Delle Donne's persistent health concerns and her being now well into her 30s, she's not going to be anywhere near the MVP type impact she had a few years ago. There are things to like about this team for sure, but personally, I'm just not too sure if their depth and primary options will be able to get them into the playoff picture, especially with some young teams around them on the rise. I have the Mystics winning 15 to 17 games this season. Number 9, the New York Liberty. The New York Liberty's fight to the playoffs last year was great, as Sabrina Ionescu remained fully healthy and gave them every chance to upset the Mercury in the single game elimination match. However, I do have them barely missing out on a playoff spot this season for a couple of reasons. One is I believe they still have some major weaknesses to figure out, particularly their defense. In almost every defensive category last season, the Liberty finished 10th or below, and that's still a big concern for them this season, as I really don't think they signed anyone to fill that void. The offense of this team should be pretty good. I think they could definitely be a top 5 offensive team next season. But on the other end of the floor, I think they'll get exposed and that will let them down big time. So that's why I have to put them in 9th for now. I have the Liberty winning 18 to 20 games this season. Number 8, the Dallas Wings. Another young team on the rise is Dallas, and through the lead of Arike Ogunbowale, they put the world on notice, putting up a valiant effort against Chicago in the single elimination postseason game. Personally, I am a major believer in the Wings and think they can take a significant leap this season. but I just found it difficult to confidently rank them above the upcoming teams. Personally, teams from 6th to 8th on this ranking are interchangeable, so I can realistically see Dallas finishing as high as 6th this season, but I've decided to put them in 8th today just because they haven't proven as much as some of the upcoming teams. Regardless, Dallas should be in for an extremely fun season. Ogunbowale could be in for an MVP type year as she begins to enter her prime. They've got some incredible role players too, like Mabry, Harris, Jefferson and Collier, and also made some great selections through the draft. I would be very shocked if Dallas aren't back in the playoffs in 2022. They've arguably got the best potential in the league at the moment, which is why I've got to put them here at 8. I have Dallas winning 21 to 23 games in 2022. Number 7, the Seattle Storm. Seattle was fantastic last regular season, winning that mid-season tournament, before eventually tailing off at the end of the season as they lost Breanna Stewart for some time. While Stewart is back for this season fully healthy, I am expecting a bit of a fall-off from Seattle. This team is getting older, and I think they lack a bit of depth outside their starting 5, which definitely hurt them in last season's playoffs. While they are definitely capable of finishing higher up in the standings, me putting them 7th really came down to how confident I feel in them to win the championship compared to the other teams around them. A fully healthy Breanna Stewart should lead this team to another top 4 finish, but at the moment, again, I just have more confidence in the teams ahead of them. Mind you, putting this top 8 together was extremely difficult. I felt like I was going to end up disrespecting some teams regardless, so I don't really mean to disrespect Seattle by having them this low. I think it just goes to show how equal and even the competition is in the WNBA at the moment. Also, with the fact that Sue Bird's on a retirement tour, and as I mentioned, the lack of depth, I think the Seattle Storm are at the end of their championship window, so a fall-off is bound to happen eventually. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but personally, I don't see Seattle maintaining the level of success it's had recently, in the regular season at the very least, so that's why I have them in 7th today. I have Seattle winning 21 to 23 games next season. Number 6, the Minnesota Lynx. The Minnesota Lynx kind of shocked some people, or at least me, last season, as they climbed the standings to be the 2nd seed. I personally had them finishing about 5th or 6th last season, and have put them there again this season, which is probably a bit controversial. However, I'm not really doubting the talent of the Lynx, it's just that I don't see them being as legitimate of a title contender as the other teams above. They'll have the motivation to win it all for fouls, and they have proven to be a great regular season team as we saw last season, but I think the playoffs expose their weaknesses a bit, so I'm a bit more pessimistic on this team than most. There are certainly things I like about the Lynx. Defensively, they're quite strong and also have great inside presences, but ultimately, I just think they're lackluster compared to the upcoming teams and may be in for a down year. I have Minnesota winning 21 to 23 games this season. Number 5, the Phoenix Mercury. The Phoenix Mercury had a big off-season, securing the talents of namely Tina Charles from Washington and Diamond DeShields from Chicago. However, they've also taken a sizable blow with the current situation surrounding Brittney Griner. I'm hoping for a safe return to the United States, but it's unclear how long that will take. So sadly, I'm assuming she doesn't play for the majority of this season. This factor makes me hesitant to push the Mercury higher up the standings, because while Charles and DeShields will fill her void somewhat and help them keep them at a highly competitive level, I don't see them taking a leap into the top 4. Taurasi should continue to defy Father Time. Skylar Diggins-Smith will again be a top point guard in the league, but again, with no Griner, arguably the MVP of this team, it's difficult to see them being a top 4 seed when it comes to October. I have the Mercury winning 24 to 26 games next season. Number 4, the Los Angeles Sparks. I am a major believer in the LA Sparks, and I mean a major one. Though I don't have them at the top of my standings, I feel confident in ranking them as a top 2 favorite to win the championship this season. and the reason behind that is their marquee signing of Liz Cambage. Liz Cambage on this roster is going to make the Sparks damn near unstoppable. There's a lot of things to love. The first thing that jumps out to me is how elite the front court is of the Sparks now. It was already very solid with the Ogunbowale sisters, but this is arguably the best front court in the league now with Cambage on board. With Cambage's height and strength, she's one of the most unstoppable players on the low block and is one of the best finishers around the basket in the entire league. Combine that with Nneka, who shoots over 80% from inside 3 feet of the basket, it's going to be a scary sight having these two attacking the paint together. Liz Cambage was utilised a lot in the pick and roll last season too, which is another thing she'll add to the Sparks. I think her work there will elevate the play of guards on this team, like Tia Cooper, so expect a breakout season from her with the increased opportunities she could find with her combination with Cambage. However, what excites me more than the offensive prospects is the defense of this team. Cambage is an elite interior presence. Sykes is one of the best perimeter defenders in the comp. She led the league in steals last season, and Nneka and Chiney are also fantastic defenders in their own right. I could talk about the offensive potential of this group forever, but I think the defensive potential they have too is what will separate them from other contenders. However, I do think it'll take 10 games or so for all the new pieces to mesh on this team to begin the season. So I think we can expect a bit of a slow start from the Sparks, which is why I have them a bit lower in the standings than where I have them in the championship favourites list. Regardless though, I'm a big fan of what the Sparks are building after a down year, and with their lottery picks looking really good in the preseason, in particular Olivia Nelson-Ododa, I think Los Angeles should reassert themselves as a title favourite this season. I have the Sparks winning 26 to 28 games this season. Number 3, the Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun was the clear top team throughout the majority of last season, only having a couple of hiccups here and there. Their defense was absurd. They were led by Jonquel Jones's dominance, and until Chicago outclassed them in the semi-finals, they seemed like a genuine favorite to win it all. Even after last season's disappointing finish though, the Sun rebounded quickly in the offseason, signing Courtney Williams and overall bolstering their depth across the roster. While I still do have my skepticisms with this team and their ability to translate regular season play to postseason dominance, I'm confident they'll again be a top dog in 2022, especially if Jones continues her insane form. Defense wins championships, and the Sun certainly have that. So I think they'll be right back in the fight this season. I have the Sun winning 27 to 29 games in 2022. Number 2, the Chicago Sky. The Sky are coming off one of the craziest postseason runs in WNBA history and look to repeat that success in 2022, hopefully with a fully healthy roster for the season this time around. We saw how elite they were last year once Candace Parker returned, so if they're fully healthy all year long, I have no reason to suggest why they couldn't go back to back. While some have suggested that the Sky need Parker to elevate this team to contender status and in that respect lack a bit of depth, I have to disagree. The group has matured enormously since their sluggish start to the 2021 season, with young guns like Kalia Copper developing incredibly over their postseason run. Even after losing to Shields to Phoenix, I think they've got the pieces to not only have an incredible regular season, but another deep postseason run too, which is why I've ranked them so highly today. Barring any major injuries like last season, a top 3 finish at the very least should be a guarantee. I have the Sky winning 28 to 30 games this season. Number 1, the Las Vegas Aces. Initially, I considered dropping the Aces down the standings a bit, but it was just so difficult to do even after they lost Liz Cambage. This team is going to be a nightmare to face next season. Not only is this roster extremely deep and talented, 1 through 12, the Aces just hired arguably the best coach the league could see in Becky Hammond. Aja Wilson could be in for an MVP type season, as she'll have more freedom as the sole star in the front court. But with players like Kelsey Plum supporting her, this won't be a carry job. The Aces are refreshed and primed to search for some championship glory as they enter 2022, and I really have to say that the chip is theirs to lose at the moment. Vegas is in for a big year. There'll be must-watch TV, and if all things start clicking early, they should have a dominant regular season, which is why I have them winning 30 to 32 games this season. But that will conclude my standings predictions. In summary, I have the Aces finishing first, the Sky in second, and the Sun and Sparks rounding out the top 4. In 5th, 6th, and 7th respectively, I have the Mercury, Lynx, and Storm, with the Wings in 8th to make up the playoff picture. Missing the playoffs, I have the Liberty, Mystics, Fever, and Dream. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on my WNBA standings predictions below in the comments, and also be sure to drop your own standing predictions down there too for the 2022 WNBA season. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.